Hi, everyone. Welcome back, and thank you for joining us today. We've got an intriguing new story to share, so let's dive right in. My name is Douglas, and this is the story of how I realized what happens when you push someone too far for too long. People often want the best of both worlds, making choices without considering the consequences. But life doesn't work that way. You don't get to take without giving, and you can't hold on to something while treating it as if it doesn't matter. I've always believed that when you commit to something, a job, a friendship, a marriage, you need to be all in. Otherwise, what's the point? My wife Megan, however, learned this the hard way. Megan was everything I had ever wanted in a partner. From the moment I met her, I knew she was someone I wanted to spend my life with. Marrying her wasn't just a decision, it was the easiest choice I'd ever made. If I could, I'd marry her, all over again without hesitation. But wanting something to last forever doesn't guarantee it will. You can plan everything perfectly, make the best decisions, and still find yourself in a situation you never saw coming. Marriage isn't perfect. Anyone who says otherwise is either lying or hasn't been married long enough. Megan and I had our fair share of disagreements over the years, but we always managed to work through them. Our communication was one of the pillars of our relationship. We talked about everything, big issues and small annoyances alike, and we made it a point to find common ground. It wasn't always easy, but we put in the effort because we both wanted our marriage to thrive. At least, that's what I thought. Lately, Megan had been acting differently. She was distant and detached in ways that felt deliberate. At first, I brushed it off as stress or a rough week. But as weeks turned into months, it became clear that something was wrong. Conversations that used to flow easily now felt stilted and awkward. She avoided eye contact, gave short answers, and shut down when I tried to dig deeper. If I asked how she was feeling, she'd say, "Fine." If I asked what was wrong, she'd tell me nothing. It wasn't just emotional distance either. She became irritable over the smallest things. Asking what she wanted for dinner could lead to a sharp retort about how she was tired of always deciding. The warmth and connection we once shared had disappeared, and I had no idea why. I wanted to confront her, but work kept me busy. I was neck-deep in the most demanding project of my career, so I told myself it was just a phase. I figured things would return to normal once my workload eased up. But they didn't. The affection between us completely faded. Megan stopped touching me. No quick kisses, no playful gestures. Even when I tried to initiate, she'd pull away with excuses like being tired or having a headache. The more I tried to connect, the more she withdrew. When my project finally ended, I decided to address the issue head-on. I sat her down one evening and calmly asked what was going on. "Megan, why have you been so distant?" I asked. "It feels like we're not even in the same marriage anymore." Her response shocked me. She snapped, her irritation bubbling to the surface. "You're being insensitive," she said. "I'm dealing with a lot, and you're not making it any easier." That response caught me off guard. Dealing with a lot? Since when? And why hadn't she told me? We'd always been open with each other, but now it felt like she was putting up walls I wasn't allowed to cross. I asked again if there was something I could do to help, but she brushed me off. "You wouldn't understand," she muttered before walking away. That was the end of the conversation. In the days that followed, Megan became even more distant. She came and went as she pleased, often disappearing for hours without telling me where she was going. At home, we barely spoke. It felt like I was living with a stranger. I decided to reach out to her friends, hoping they could shed some light on the situation. But their responses only confused me further. They insisted that Megan was the same as always, laughing off my concerns. Nothing made sense. Was she hiding her struggles from everyone but me? Or was I missing something bigger? The more time passed, the more I realized I was the only one holding on to the marriage. It felt like Megan had already checked out. I reached my breaking point after 6 months of this. I stopped trying to engage with her, stopped making conversation, and even stopped coming home some nights. My office became my escape. I slept on the sofa, used the private bathroom, and kept to myself. For the first time in months, I felt a sense of peace. Then, one day, Megan sent me a text. "Please, come home." For a moment, I thought something was wrong. But when I walked through the door, I was met with a version of Megan I hadn't seen in months, warm, affectionate, and playful. She smiled, touched my arm, and joked about how I'd been abandoning her. Her sudden change felt unnatural, like a performance. When I didn't respond the way she expected, she shifted tactics, sighing and apologizing for being distant. She claimed she had been going through something, but didn't elaborate. I stood there watching her and realized I didn't feel the relief I thought I would. Her sudden warmth wasn't genuine. It was desperation. Filing for divorce wasn't an easy decision, but by the time I made it, I knew there was no other option. Megan cried, begged, and pleaded, saying she couldn't afford to lose me. She kept repeating that she'd made a mistake and just needed another chance. But I didn't feel anything anymore. The damage was done, and no amount of tears or apologies could undo what she had done. The truth was clear. If Megan had truly been afraid of losing me, she never would have betrayed me in the first place. You don't cheat on someone you can't bear to lose. You don't check out of your marriage for months, push your partner away, and then only panic when the consequences catch up to you. I told her plainly that our marriage was over. I couldn't trust her, and without trust, there was nothing left to rebuild. She tried to argue, throwing every excuse she could think of, but I stayed firm. I wasn't going to let guilt, nostalgia, or her desperate attempts at damage control pull me back into something already broken beyond repair. At first, she refused to accept it. Her emotions swung wildly, crying, yelling, begging. She even accused me of giving up too easily, and for a moment that almost made me laugh. Giving up? I had spent 6 months trying to hold on while she ignored me, trying to fix a marriage she had already walked away from. I wasn't the one who gave up. She was. She just didn't realize it until it was too late. Eventually, when she saw I wasn't changing my mind, she stopped fighting. She got a lawyer, and so did I. We handled everything quickly and amicably, like two strangers tying up loose ends, not like two people who had once built a life together. Walking away from the marriage hurt, no matter how much she had betrayed me. It was still an ending, and endings always bring pain, but staying would have hurt more. Trust is like glass. Once shattered, you can try to piece it back together, but the cracks will always be there. I wasn't willing to live in a marriage full of cracks, waiting for it all to collapse again. This experience taught me an important lesson. Actions have consequences. If you're in a relationship where your partner is shutting you out, refusing to communicate and making you feel like a stranger in your own home, don't ignore it. You deserve honesty, respect, and love. And if they can't give you that, it's not your job to carry the weight of the relationship alone. Sometimes, the best thing you can do is let go before you lose yourself trying to hold on to someone who already let go of you. What would you have done if you were in my shoes? Would you have given her another chance, or would you have walked away like I did? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts.